Recently, we were joined by Steve Matthews, CEO of ADRA Canada, who shared how his team is delivering hope through relief work, development projects, and ventures like Hope Harvest. From helping families rebuild after wildfires here in Canada to empowering farmers in Ghana through fair trade cashews, Steve gave us a compelling look at how ADRA is changing lives at home and abroad. Today, we go a little deeper. We explore what most people don't see behind the scenes of global humanitarian work, the tough leadership calls, the bold initiatives, and the deeply human moments that remind us why this work matters. Steve, welcome back and great to have you again.
It's great to be back. Thanks for having me.
I should have greeted you in Newfoundland. How's it going, me old trout?
Absolutely.
Good.
Not bad, bye.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Getting we're both from the East Coast, so
Yes.
we do have accents that sometimes flare up now and then.
Exactly.
So, Steve, it's great to have you back on this show. I want to ask you, what's something about working in global humanitarian aid that most people misunderstand?
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's just they think you send the money over and how does it get used? A lot of people don't understand
Mhm.
how we use the funds, what we're doing, and a lot of what we do is really going into communities and trying to partner on the ground, working with local people, and really trying to make a difference to relieve the suffering of. And we focus on the most vulnerable in the communities we work in,
Yeah.
and that's something I think a lot of people don't recognize. Is like how do we pick who you work with? And so really it's focusing on those vulnerable communities in the countries we work in. But it's not, the decisions aren't made here in Canada. The way that ADRA works, we work with our partner offices on the ground. They identify the needs and they actually come back to us to say, these are the greatest needs in our community.
Okay.
And here's how we suggest that you go ahead and be able to help. So that's really the approach. It's a real team effort
Mhm.
with our partners on the ground there.
Okay, because I've seen the news recently within the last year, a lot of things going along in the United States and Canada where people are afraid to give money outside the country. But you and I actually, you took me on two trips, one to Cambodia and the continuation into Indonesia.
Mhm.
And we first went to Indonesia, and that was really an eye-opening experience because we went to an area that had been hit with an earthquake. Tell us a little bit about that area that we went to in Indonesia.
So when we went into that region of Indonesia, it was an area where a lot of the traditional crops that they would normally use, they were destroyed.
Okay.
And so one of the things we wanted to do when we went in there, first we're helping to provide that initial relief of getting through those emergency periods of the earthquake. One of the pieces of feedback that we got, I remember when we were speaking with them there, is they said, Adra's different because you didn't just leave after the media left.
Right.
You actually stayed to help us long term. And so that's what we really did there,
Mhm.
is tried to stay in, and we ended up changing some of the crops that they planted to crops that are less susceptible to natural disasters. We had cocoa. So we were
Mhm.
able to try the cocoa there, and even to see the chocolate that was being made,
Yeah.
and just really working through some different types of crops that will last longer. So then, one of the things that was destroyed during that earthquake were the rice fields,
Right.
and that was something that they didn't. Instead of replanting rice, they replanted with things that
Mhm.
were going to be more resilient if disasters happened again.
So in this area of Indonesia, they had a huge earthquake, and one of the things that really struck me was we went to visit areas of a city where everything sunk into the ground.
Mm,
The cars, the homes, the people. Just literally the ground became liquid and they sank in. We went to other areas where only half the houses sank down. So, you had an 8 foot tall house that was 4 feet off the
yeah.
ground because it basically got sucked into the ground. So this was a devastating earthquake. And on top of that, what else happened in that area along with the earthquake?
Well, I mean, it was a really, first I want to go, like, it was a very eerie feeling
Yeah.
to to be there. And so there was a monument that was set up where it had the names of all the people that had been buried, because they actually weren't able to recover any of those
Right.
bodies. They essentially were buried in their homes.
Yeah.
But those areas of the city have been identified as areas that can't be developed anymore.
Right.
So you have whole sections of the city that are not going to be able to be used anymore, and
They're essentially a graveyard.
they're essentially a graveyard.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it was quite challenging to see that as we were there.
And we were staying right on the coast by a hotel.
Hmm.
That coast got hit with a huge tsunami that took out, from where we were staying, the main section of the city for a few hundred yards into the city. We're talking about a 12-foot, 18-foot wave just coming and wiping out everything. That was devastating.
Exactly. And remember there was a mosque that was in the harbor that's left there.
Yes.
You can't, it's not usable. Like that's actually where it came to its resting place.
Yeah.
You could see just the power of that tsunami that came in
Yeah.
after the earthquake and the devastation. It was actually that tsunami that knocked out a lot of these fields, because as the tsunami came in, it worked its way up the valley
Okay.
and destroyed a lot of the fields, rendering them unusable for their typical purposes that they
Yeah.
had before. So that's why we came in with some of these different crops to be able to build some resiliency in for them.
Nice, nice. And we met a lot of people out there that were just so thankful. And one of the things that I thought was neat was we went to some of the where ADRA was training them on how to grow crops and how to harvest more from their fields. In other words, multiply the harvest from it. I didn't see any men sitting there. I saw all these ladies, and I said, "Are all the ladies the farmers?" And they said, "No, their husbands are working in the fields, they're here to learn," and so they go back and then tell them how to do the work. And I was really amazed that the farming adventure was a family adventure.
Yeah,
uh,
and what I like about that approach as well is that they do have limited amounts of land.
mm,
By being able to teach them techniques on how to get more out of that acre of land they have, they can increase their income
right.
without actually being able to have any more land.
Yeah.
So that I like that as well. And then they had these they were using natural pesticides to be able to deal with the crops. That was what
Yeah,
the women were learning about, how to make some of these natural pesticides
that's
when
right.
we were there as well.
And they would spray them on the trees, and they were just made from hot pepper and different things like that, so it would keep the ants off the trees.
Yeah.
So that you guys were environmentally helping them um, do natural pesticides.
Yeah, but they really emphasized for us not to touch your eyes after touching that. It'd burn your eyes out.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. Then we went over to Cambodia afterwards, and in Cambodia they had, gone through a period where the Pol Pot regime, the Khmer Rouge, had really inflicted a lot of damage on the people over in Cambodia. And so, what were some of the work that we were doing in Cambodia there that just helping the people that are listening to know what ADRA does?
Yeah, so that project, it was the project's called Together, and with that project, we're working in communities to, there's a number of different aspects. So one is reducing gender-based violence,
Yeah.
um, teaching about gender roles within the home, but from a perspective of trying to ensure that the men help the women in the household, because
Right.
typically in a lot of these areas, the women are left with all the work and the men essentially go get drunk and come home at all hours of the night. So
Mhm.
trying to sensitize around that, trying to prevent early childhood marriages as well, reducing teen pregnancies. So some of these it's really trying to change some societal norms
Mhm.
to to try to help with some of these challenges that they go through in the community. So that's it. A lot of the project is from a training perspective. One of the things we do though is we actually go to the communities and we get the communities to identify what are the greatest needs in your community.
Yeah.
So then the communities are designing the programs with us,
Mhm.
identifying, in this area, we want to reduce violence against women. How do we do that? And they put their inputs in, so it's really localized,
Okay.
so that we're able to do that. And we were in some pretty remote areas there. Hey, Paul,
We were.
what do you?
Oh,
I'm going to
I
turn the interview back to you this time. How'd you enjoy the ride?
well, we were on these. The only way to describe them was there was this engine with two wheels on it, connected to this very rustic wagon that we had to ride through. The roads were a normal vehicle could not pass on these
No.
roads, but these little engines that they had, these diesel engines, took us along quite a long distance and across rivers. We
Hmm.
went across rivers on makeshift ferries to go across. Yeah, that was a very bumpy ride. My back felt that for weeks after
Yes.
there, but it was neat going into the jungle to see how much of the the police force was there to help out, the local authorities, from the mayor and everything. We all got together to do that, and then we would go underneath the huts to have our meetings.
Yeah.
They're on stilts, and we're underneath the huts there, learning some beautiful things about how to have a happier marriage,
Yeah.
to have a better marriage. And later on, we met with the governor
Yeah.
there.
And what I liked about meeting with the governor
Yeah,
was he was actually sharing with us, ADRA is working in such remote areas in his province
yeah,
that we're working in areas that he hasn't even visited as the governor.
really.
So
Wow.
that was quite interesting to hear that, and just to kind of see the appreciation they have for
Yeah,
us working. And that's why when we go into to community, sometimes we're trying to identify areas that the government isn't able to get to.
yeah.
So we're there to really try to supplement the local resources by getting to communities that otherwise wouldn't actually have that access.
And one of the things he brought out there is, the Seventh day Adventist Church does believe in healthy living. He brought out our focus on healthy living because his greatest need for his area was diabetes.
Hmm.
And what he was saying, he said, we got so used to white rice, and they grow this beautiful red rice. We had plenty of that to eat. It was
Yeah.
a hearty red rice, but he said we were trying to get the people back to eating what they ate 100 years ago because it's healthier for them. And so he was basically highlighting what we do and helping us to promote their red rice diets.
Yeah, exactly. He
So
even had the products there that they have that
that's right.
he said, they even export some of that
Yeah.
product. So
So when we came back, my wife and I went hunting for Cambodian red rice because it was so nutritious, and we still use it today. Instead of putting white rice in, we put the red rice into
mm,
for a heartier, a more natural type of rice.
yeah,
And
it's
then, Steve, we're at the airport. We're leaving. Talking about going into the jungle. We were far in there, but we saw a group of young people that were coming back from a mission trip from Perth, Australia,
yeah.
that happened to have little crests that we recognized because they were actually from one of our schools in Perth, Australia. They weren't just going into the jungle where we were going in, they were going far into the jungle. And it was really neat to see another group of people there doing mission work.
Yeah, I think there had to be probably about 30 of them that were traveling back at the same time.
That's right.
So yeah, it's it's a small world when we really look at it.
Yeah. How do you stay culturally sensitive while being strategic? What are some of the challenges that you are faced with making plans?
We do rely a lot on the advice from our local offices.
Okay.
Even when I go to visit the country, many of the countries that I visit, I've never been there before.
Hmm.
So they'll oftentimes have even a cultural sensitization, little introduction before we get going.
Right.
As we're designing our projects, we are working with local people. So the funds that we get through ADRA Canada, they actually go to hiring local individuals, so they understand the local context. And even when we go into, I'll give you an example. When we go into Kenya, um, the head office is in Nairobi. One of our main projects is in Turkana, which is a northern region. A lot of people, when you think of see the pictures of ladies with beads that go from their neck all the way down.
Right.
It's those beads are that's what people typically identify those individuals as. We work with people locally from those communities even, so we'll go in and hire them so they understand the local cultures and traditions for those communities as well. So
Hmm.
that's how we try to stay culturally relevant, is to really work with local people that
Yeah.
understand, that know the traditions and know the culture of where we're working.
Hmm. And I noticed that we were on our trip to Indonesia and Cambodia, that there were a lot of people from that area working. It wasn't North Americans or people from Australia or anything like that. There were Indonesians working with Indonesians and Cambodians working with Cambodians.
Exactly. And we do it that way because it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Why would you first off fly people from Canada to go over and work in a country that they're not used to and try to do work in those
Hmm.
areas by hiring local people? It even for the people we hire, it helps the local economy as well. So not only are you bringing these changes in, but you're also providing jobs into that local economy as well. So there's a
Absolutely.
number of different benefits by doing it that way.
So, Steve, as we're hearing on the news that in the U.S. they're starting to pull back their money that they're giving in U.S. aid, um, we see similar things happening here in Canada. How do we go about making sure that our government and also ADRA, that ADRA is funded by donations, but it also works on behalf of the Canadian government and Canadian Food Grains Bank? How do we maintain a level of funding? Is there anything that a person watching this can do to help get our government to continue doing these projects?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just as a typical citizen, um, what drives our MPs are issues that matter to the people in the riding.
Okay.
Contacting your MP and showing support for the work that we do and for supporting foreign aid
Yeah.
is actually it does go a long way. We do have campaigns as well. I'm on the board of directors for the Canadian Food Grains Bank,
Hmm.
as well as my role with ADRA. And through that, like we mount campaigns to there was an I Care campaign that was done a few years ago. There's campaigns to try to provide support for food. We have people that meet with MPs. I meet with MPs every year to try to ensure that they are aware of the work that we do. And
Right.
that's one of the things is that awareness piece. I think because foreign aid is is in a distant land and people don't see it, it's always easier to gain support for a hospital expansion in your local community.
Right.
But when you're looking at what are we doing internationally, when you can't see it, so really trying to share the story, share about the work that we do. If with regards to ADRA, if people would share about the work that we do and share about the differences that we make, we have lots of stories on our website that share about the impacts that we're having.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
through some of these different initiatives that we try. But this postcard campaign that we did through CFGB, I think they had over 20,000 postcards that were sent in to Ottawa to identify support. And then there are times as well where, like in my role, I will sign on to letters um, to various MPs identifying, trying to push support for
Yeah.
certain things, certain initiatives as well.
So let's say funding was no problem at all. If funding was unlimited, what project would you start tomorrow?
Yeah. Um, I there's a couple that I look at. One is like there are over 780 million people in the world right now
Mhm.
that still don't have access to clean water.
Well,
So being able to provide clean sources of drinking water to people is one that I would definitely look at. Um, I also like food projects, and this is where I always find we never have enough funding for food projects.
mhm.
But I like food projects where we're not just going in and giving out food. I like food projects where we're going in and teaching people an agricultural technique in how to grow
Like
your
we
own
did
food.
in Indonesia. Yeah,
Exactly, where you
yeah,
go in and you're teaching people, and there are so many areas. The needs are so great that we just can't cover all these areas with the resources that we have.
yeah.
So those are some areas that I would certainly
Hmm.
look at trying to do project along those lines. I mean, I could talk for days about the types of projects and the things that
Yeah,
I would love to do. One of the things that we're doing now, and I know it was mentioned in our previously in the last episode that we did about Hope Harvest
yeah.
and the cashews. That's an initiative that I believe can really transform communities because you're going in and you're doing trade-based development. You're going in and you're actually working from an economic impact
Mm,
where you're essentially partnering with communities to make an economic difference. So
mhm,
now instead of having to come in and say provide a well or provide fees for school or that sort of thing, by partnering with these communities and giving them a stronger source of income,
mhm.
they can now go and provide those things for themselves. So I
Right.
really like that approach as well, and that's what I love about our social enterprise initiative is it's not just about making money.
Yeah,
It's actually about making a difference in communities, going in and transforming communities, but by partnering with them, you don't
yeah.
come in for 3 or 4 years. Then when the funding is out, you say, okay, well, good luck.
Yeah,
Hope
we've done
everything is
our
well.
job.
We've
Yeah.
done our job. You're there for the long term to partner with
Right.
these communities
Yeah.
in the longer term. And I find that often happens when I go to communities. They they don't have when I ask oftentimes what is it that you need, it's access to markets. They've actually said to me many times, can you help us sell our products? Can you help us get our products to market? So those are probably a long answer to a
Yeah.
question, but there's just so many different ways
And so
to
that's
do
the one reason ADRA started Hope Harvest, is to give access of these people that are looking for marketing their products, to help them out to live, to buy a house, or to build a house.
it.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, wow, that's incredible. Steve, what advice would you give to a young person considering a career work in humanitarian work?
Mm. Well, one, I would say that it is a very fulfilling career to go into.
Hmm.
It's something that, if you're looking for something that really gives you mission and gives you drive in life, it's definitely a great career to go into. There's so many different ways to go into it, though. So that's one thing is, we have everything from financial controls, financial assistance, to international development, emergency response. Um, there's fundraising is an important piece for us as well. So there are a lot of different ways that an individual can get into this. One piece of advice I would give is to look at what stream do I want to be involved in. Do I want to
Okay.
be in responding to emergencies? Very important piece. Do I want to be involved in helping to develop communities in a more longer term strategic direction? There's so just kind of looking at that and determine which area I'd want to go into,
Okay.
and then find the right program. uh, Getting the right education is key as well, so that you can then get into those entry level roles and start working your way through that. But I would definitely recommend it as a role
And volunteer with a humanitarian organization, local or even abroad.
absolutely.
Because I think the ADRA is, we haven't had it for a while because of COVID, but connections towards where basically people can go and be a part of what we would call a mission trip or something like that. So
And we are in the process of hiring a new resource now to fill that role, so
excellent.
that we can help facilitate some of those connections trips, giving young people an opportunity to, and not just young people, young and old.
Yeah.
We welcome all sorts to be able to go and experience our projects in the field and be able to really, get your hands dirty and make a difference.
So, Steve, last question. We're almost ready to finish here. But what gives you hope when you're overwhelmed by a crisis?
You know, what gives me hope is that there are still a lot of good people
Mm,
in this world. And when we get to connect with people that care, because when we look at the news, you'd almost think that nobody cares about anybody anymore.
right.
But I keep meeting people that really care about other people, people they have met, people that they haven't met. And I do know that there's still a lot of people. There are a lot of Canadians in this country right now that still care about the role that Canada plays in the world.
Yes.
And at ADRA, we get to be just a small piece of that representation of Canada around the world. So that's what gives me hope, is to see that there's still a lot of people out there that do care about others and
Yeah.
really want to make a difference.
Yeah, we don't see that on the news a lot, and that's really
Yeah.
encouraging. So, Steve, thank you for being a guest again on Rainmakers. It's really great to hear the work that you're doing, and the work that ADRA Canada and ADRA International is doing around the world, by lifting people out of some of the situations that they're in and giving them hope and a future.
Yeah. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me back again.
Thank you. Have you been moved by this story and feel inspired to help us to continue bringing these impactful moments to life? Your support is essential for us to keep showcasing the volunteers making a difference. If you'd like to contribute to the production of Hope Channel Canada and its ministries, it's simple. Visit agentsofhope.ca, where you'll find various ways to donate by credit, debit, Google Pay, Apple Pay, or send an e-transfer to Agents of Hope at hopetv.ca. Prefer mailing a check? Send it to Hope Channel Canada at 1148 King Street East, Oshawa, Ontario, L1H 1H8. For a more personal connection, call us at 1 855 4 Hope TV. That's 1 855 446 7388. Don't forget to subscribe to YouTube channel Hope Channel Canada, and click the notification bell so you'll never miss an episode. You can also watch the show on multiple platforms: hopetv.ca, cable TV, the Roku app, and the Hope Channel app. Are you looking for answers to life's most profound questions? Hope Study provides free online Bible courses that cover essential topics, all at your own pace and from the comfort of your own home. One of our enriching courses, The Unlimited Power of Prayer, invites you to discover the remarkable world of prayer. Here, talking with God is not just a boring routine, but a sincere conversation with the source of love and wisdom. This study will deepen your understanding of prayer's incredible power to help you build a stronger connection with God. Signing up is easy and completely free at hopestudy.ca. Begin your journey today and feel free to share this valuable resource with anyone else seeking answers. Uncover life's answers. Visit hopestudy.ca and start your journey today.